Hello folks, we are learning CGI in the next couple weeks. Before you begin, you should review HTML. There are 6 tutorials here that are highly recommended if you don't know anything about Perl. About HTML. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very simple. They will take no more than 5-10 minutes each. Go ahead and get yourself familiarized with HTML. Next, the big part of this assignment, of course, is the class notes, of course, which we are covering in this video. But the exercise is going to be, this is a make or break type of exercise, and I highly recommend everybody give it their best shot. This will bring everything together in Perl and CGI. I'll give you pseudocode, which I recommend if you are new at programming, but be aware that you don't have to follow that. If you want to take off on your own, go right ahead. There are some examples, some additional notes about what you'll to help you with, as usual, with any tools that are necessary. And here, even for the new folks here, there are 5 points here which should be followed one at a time as you develop this program. Because this, as usual, it is not that tough, but since we're working with many different parts, this will help keep things organized from the beginning to the end of this project. Now, let's get to the class notes. Comment. Note that HTML pages are created from print statements in Perl, and you should be aware of that already. Okay, we use print statement just to print on the shell. It's the same thing to the web, except we're going to insert a lot more HTML code now to format things more properly on the web. We also have CGI methods. As you know, we have this library which we have been using print header. And we'll learn about other ones which can simplify life for us. A lot of times it's just easier to just print direct HTML code on the screen. Sometimes it's easier to use CGI methods, especially when it comes to forms such as radio buttons and others. We'll keep on learning about those until the end of the semester. Here's a very simple program to create a full-fledged HTML page. It begins, of course, with this. You already know about the print header. But an HTML page begins with this tag, HTML tag. It begins and ends with that tag. Next, we have a head tag, which contains many different parts, but one important one is the title. So this is an open title tag. This is a closed tag, and anything in between. This is the way HTML works. Everything in between, sandwiched in between the open tag and the closed tag, is what is affected by that command. The title, anything you type in between the title, will show up in the title of the page. For instance, this one is called Chapter CGI Section, right? And if we look at the, let me deselect here. If we look at the page source, and let's put the page source in view where you can see it, you can see the HTML page is open this way, followed by head, followed by the title. And in between the title tags, you have Chapter CGI Section 149 and so forth, which is exactly what we see up above. And if we continue this, there's a body tag, and anything below that will be showing on the web page until the very end of this page. You notice the body closes and then HTML closes. Okay, so this is a standard HTML page, and we are creating one right now in Perl, right? This is a regular old print statement, HTML head title, and then a regular old print statement with a head, closing the head and opening the body. And go ahead and keep going, keep using your /n's, which create create, let's look at the source again. You notice that these are on different lines, and it's because we have printed return /ns at the end of these lines. If you don't do that, then your code ends up in one long line. Sometimes you see that, and it's quite annoying. Then we're going to print scalar. Remember, local time is one of those functions that will print either scalar data or array data, and we're going to see that in a minute. This one is going to be printing local time is now going to print to an array, so we're going to get different result. Here we're using the p tag from CGI. This is one of these functions like print header. We can also print p, which is a paragraph. It creates a new paragraph, a new line here, and inside that paragraph we're going to print array time, and we're printing the array that we have just populated here, and we follow that with the /n. Why not? And this is all part of a function. You see, this is a function, and we'll learn how to do this in plain old HTML as well. So, and here we go back to HTML by closing the body and closing the HTML, and we're exiting. So here's our first simple web page. Here I should have, there it is. I'm going to reload it, make sure it still runs. Monday, October 8th. Okay, this was our scalar result, and this was what the information we got in the array. Okay, this is all the information that we need from the dates that a program could use. This is more easily read by mere humans like we are. Back to the class notes. Oh, by the way, don't forget that this is an actual web page, right? And you need to get used to going to your view and page source to see what your Perl program has created. Okay, it created this HTML. Remember, if I put this over here and we look at our code here, it printed HTML, it printed the head and the title, it closed the head. You see this over here, close the body with a /n, so we have a /n, close the body, and then we have print scalar local time, and this is what happened right here. And here's this p command here actually created a p tag and sandwich our data and then close the p tag here. We must have had a /n here before the close. Yes, indeed we did, and body and HTML. So check out your source to make sure that what you think actually worked in here really did in real life. Of course, you'll see this result, but it's more telling to look at the source itself. Next, sometimes it gets annoying to print every single print and every line. Well, sometimes you may have an entire page already done in HTML. Perhaps you did a page in Dreamweaver or somewhere. Well, you can just paste it right in your code, and you can use this type of syntax here. Two of these brackets, and here you just name a label, anything we want. In this case, end HTML in capital letters, and end this with a semicolon, right? Then you just paste your code. What have we done here? HTML head, same thing. Close the head, open the body. This was 4 lines, right, of code, which we might as well keep that together. So we use this HTML. It's called a here document for some reason. And everything in between the opening of this label and the close of the label will simply print. And the beauty of this is that we can actually use arrays, or we can use variables. It's just like a string quote. That's very handy. Okay, so here we have to close it because now we have to print some functions, and we can't print functions inside of this type of block, okay? But if it's straight HTML and variables, fine. Just use your here document, open your label, close the label. And by the way, you cannot use anything else on this line. It has to start on character 1, and you can't even put a comment over here. Okay? Don't even the space will cause an error. So it's nothing but the label right here, and that's it. So here we're printing scalar again. It's basically the same program we just wrote, except we're using some here documents. So get used to this. If you have several lines of HTML with no functions within, then it's perfect time to use this type of system. Program to display CGI environment variables. Okay, so now we've seen some of this. First of all, we have the print header. We're going to use this one instead of typing content, and and here are two. We're going to do this in these class notes a lot. We're going to print the equivalent in CGI as it normally would be in HTML. So here's the HTML code, right? HTML title and open the body and so forth. Well, if you're going to use CGI functions, you can say start HTML. Start HTML will automatically print HTML title, and it's going to put in the quotes here inside of the title. So we just say start HTML, print what we want in the title, and it starts everything, including closing the title and opening the body. Okay, now here we're going to learn a little bit about HTML. We're going to do a table. The border, notice this is one tag, and then we can put some properties inside of the tag. This particular one is a border of 1 pixel. The way we use the border is here. We're going to put some information in a table using a for each loop. We're going to sort keys of a special variable called environment. Okay. Now remember when we've been passing information from the browser after the question mark to our CGI code. Well, we internally we used this variable here. Here we're using it directly. This is a hash. It will contain the pairs of the fields, the field name and the data, right? Here the key is the name of the fields, and we're going to pull these out from this little program here from the web, and one at a time we're going to, well, that's not true. This is all the environment that come back from a program, from a browser to a server, and we're gonna see what all the information that your Perl program has from requests from the web. So we're going to print simply all the keys that are available for the server. But we're putting this inside of a table. Let's take a look at. Okay, these are commented. Okay, we can look at this later. This is the equivalent of what the real syntax for HTML, which we need to look at first. So once you start a table tag, then you can start creating rows, and this is a table row. And after that, once you have a row, you have to do some cells or some columns, and in HTML it's called table data for some reason. Table data is one column. B makes it bold. Here we are of course printing the field name, and we're closing the bold, and so we're going to do this in bold, and then we're done with this particular column. So we have one column here. Now we open a new column. This one we're going to make it italic, and now we're getting the content of this key variable, which is going to tell us what Apache found has the value that is given us for that particular variable. We close the italic, we close the last column, and we close our row. But we do this, of course, this is one row, correct? One row from here, from here to here, and for each variable. So that's pretty much it. This will create the entire table. Now once the table is finished, we have to close it. So in HTML, that's what we're going to do. So let's take a look. This is going to create a table on the web with a border of 1. Let's reload this, and here's our table. It's a little bit bigger than this window, but you notice apparently we printed the content type once again, so it did not get absorbed this time, so it's not displayed, unfortunately. Here's a table with a 1 pixel border with 2 columns, right? The first column had the bold name of these variables, these special variables from Apache, and in italics we had the content that has been stored for your program to see. This is the document root, CGI bin. Anyway, there's a bunch of data here. Let's find. This is English. The connection is keep alive. You know the host, right? The path. Well, some of those This is the address from which this is the remote address from which I'm accessing the server at this point. The request method is get. We have get and we have post. We'll learn about the difference. And this is the program that I'm running right now from Gen 89. And this is the name of the program, right? Script name. Server address. There's just and a lot of servers have different fields available to them. So you just have to simply run this program and check out what your env hash has to say. Server port 80 and so forth. It even tells you the type of Apache that we're on. So this is the data that you can get from this famous variable here. So we learn about this important special variable, which is not Perl. You can access those in any language. Of course, not necessarily in a hash, but you have access to all those CGI variables, of course. And we learned also about a table, and we looked at some of the typical formatting tags like bold and italic. Okay, let's continue. The query string. Yeah, this is another one that I failed to see here, but we should have a query string. The query string field is the one that contains that information that we're used to be passing with a question mark, okay? Here we're going to take advantage of it. And our program is going to use the name of this field as the key in our environment hash, and we're going to simply grab this information into a variable we call query. And this time we're going to use, instead of doing the H2, which is a highlight of the second to the highest highlight, we're going to actually use the equivalent command in CGI. So you notice they usually use exactly the same name as the HTML tag, but it just becomes a function name, and then you use parentheses, and you can, in the string, all of this is going to be highlighted at level 2. So we're going to print name value pair, and then we're going to ask the question if query equal nothing, right? That means that we're going to give people some directions here. Please add some name pair values to the URL above, or try, and then we're going to even have we're going to give them a link to our code right here, our little script, chapter CGI.cgi, and here's our famous question mark, and we're going to take put a couple fields there, name, and Joe Doe, and then our parentheses, our paren, right, ampersand, age, and that's it. And then this is, by the way, the HTML tag for a link. You open the A tag and you close the A tag, sandwich everything. Oh, and then sandwich what this will actually appear on the screen and turn underline, right? So we have this. So if somebody doesn't have the question mark, we're going to tell them. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and process information. This time, let's take a look at straight old HTML. We're going to print italic. The query string is, and since we use double quotes, we can use single quotes here. What? Well, this is just to highlight it. It just doesn't look right, but we'll see what happens here. And then we close the italic, and this is a break tag, and then we could exit here, I don't know why. And then we have we're going to take the query string. Now remember, the query string as it is normally done, right? We have this is exactly the way it comes in to the Apache server. It's got the ampersand in between the fields. So we're going to take our query string, split it on the ands, on the ampersand, and we now put that in an array called pairs. And for each pairs, we're going to, now the pairs, what are the pairs like? The pairs are actually one string separated with an equal sign, right? Here's a pair, and here's another. So now we end up with one variable which contains an equal sign, so we need to split that one on the equal sign. And remember our famous string on this side, or our famous list, I'm sorry, and we're going to grab the name and the value. Print, you set name to value, and that's all we need to do. And it's going to do two pairs in this case, correct? Okay, save this and run it. Okay, so here's the name value pairs. This is this H2. It makes it this big, you see. And we didn't type anything up here after the question mark, so we got our error message. Please add some value pairs or try this. So we're going to go ahead and notice on the bottom of the window here, you see the address here as I point here. This creates this after the question mark, right? Name equals Joe Doe and age equals 29. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click on that, make things simple. If we look at our URL, we will see exactly what we asked to print in the URL here. Question mark, name equals Joe, and here's the ampersand 20, which is a space, right? The web doesn't like spaces very well. And now it says the query string in italic is, now this is the entire query string, and this was not very well done, right? We only had one single quote. This is what we did here. So here's the entire query string. We split it, and then we after processing the data, we set name to value Joe, and we didn't fix the spaces yet, so we're just getting raw data here, and we set age to value 29. This was our for each loop, right, which processed each pair of the data. Okay, let's go a little further, and then we'll end this video since it's getting a little a little long. Now this is the get method that we're going to learn about with HTML forms. We'll also use the post method. Important to understand the small code below. It is used in two cases. One, it can be run for the first time from the browser. Or two, it is called from the submit button from a form. And folks, this is important indeed. Every program we're going to write in this class will work this way. They can be called from the web, or they can be run, or they can be called from filling a form. Everybody's done one of those. If the code is called from the submit button from the form, the field name will have a value, right? So let's take a look at this code here. The first thing your program should do is, of course, grab the information from the query string, and you can do this all in one shot by splitting at the equal sign. Well, in our case, we only have one field, so that is why we can do that in this case. So the query string is going to compare one field separated by an equal sign. We grab this value immediately with name and value. We're going to print a paragraph marker. Again, the space here. This is another way, by the way, to print a paragraph marker, which is a single tag. We don't really need to close a tag, a paragraph tag. It just creates two lines, and then you just print whatever you want. Enter one of your favorite word here. Now, here's our last tag for this video. We learn about a table. Now we learn about a form. Okay, this is how you make a form, which has one of those submit button at the end. Okay, this very powerful on the web. The method is going to be get, which means the information is going to be transferred after the question mark. The action property is the script that you want your form to be processed from. So this will call, when you press submit, this is the program that will be called on the Apache server, which happens to be, of course, the one that we're working on right now. Now we have different input types. So this is the tag input, the property type, text. Okay, we'll see this is where you can put somebody's name, or this is a one-line form tag, form type, as you'll see. We can give those names. Let's get used to that. This is well, we have to. Every field that you have has to have a name in order for us to process. As you remember very well, we're going to use a param statement, right? You need a field name, and this is where the field name is created in the input tag, and this is a type text. The name is going to be called word. Another input of type submit. This is not a text, right? This is a submit, and the value this time is what's going to appear on the button. Now the submit don't usually need a name because we don't process a submit button. We just process usually the fields inside of the form. And when you're done with that, you close the form, and this will basically create your form, right? Now we're going to go further, and this program is going to ask if there is a value. Now, where does that come from again? It comes from our query string, right? If there's a value, it means the form, this program here, chapter CGI, was actually called from somebody pressing the submit button. Because somebody pressed the submit button, the query string will be populated when the program runs, and value will the value, whatever we typed in this text field, will show up in value. So therefore value will have a value, and if that's the case, then we're going to print your word is, and we're going to go ahead and print the value. So this is an example of a program which does two things, right? It will create the form. We'll have to run that program from scratch, and but it will also basically do the same thing if it's called from the form. Let's give that one a shot. and here's enter one of your favorite words here, right? And here's the tag that creates this one line text field. And what's our favorite word? Well, of course, perl. And here's this input of type submit. It creates and a value submit word. Remember? So this is what it looks like. Your word is. It already tries to find something. Oh yeah, you know why? Because we already had something from the previous after the question mark. So it thinks this is our word, but now we're going to put in a real word, perl, and we're going to press submit. And now the program was called with the new information here, right? And because we use the get method, it actually placed that field called word and the data that we put in right here after the question mark. And now our program received that, and your word is perl. Okay, the next thing you want to do is learn about post, which is very similar, but and this time we're going to use the param statement finally, and we'll basically be using that from now on. The post is very similar, but it passes the information internally without the use of the question mark, which is usually a better way to do it. Okay, please take a look, and we'll see you in the other video to help you create the exercise for these 2 weeks. Thank you very much.